Hey, welcome to the very first video of this channel. Honestly, I have no idea what I shouldn't be sharing with you all. But we're here for one thing. We love a good scary story, right? And that's exactly why you're here too. I've got some spine-chilling tales lined up, starting with a real story that'll definitely make you question every strange sound in your house. So grab a blanket, turn off the lights if you're brave enough, and let's get into it. This first one is a doozy. Grandma keeps knocking. Yeah, I know. Sounds like one of those campfire stories, right? But what if I told you this one is 100% real? Tonight, I'm going to share a story straight from Reddit that will make you second-guess those familiar sounds in your house. And trust me, you'll want to keep your door locked after this. Let's dive in. I never believed in ghosts or the supernatural. I always thought that those stories were just made up to scare people. That was until my grandmother passed away 10 years ago. My grandmother was a kind and gentle woman. She always had a smile on her face and a warm hug for anyone who needed it. Her death was sudden and unexpected, and it left a huge void in our family. After her funeral, I moved into her old house to keep it from being sold. I wanted to hold on to the memories of her that lingered in every corner of the house. But as the years passed, strange things began happening. It started with small things, objects moving on their own, strange noises in the middle of the night. I brushed it off as my imagination playing tricks on me. But then, one night, as I was getting ready for bed, I heard a soft knock on my bedroom door. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew it couldn't be possible. My grandmother had been dead for 10 years. But the knocking continued, slow and persistent. I mustered up the courage to open the door, but there was no one there. Just the empty hallway, bathed in the soft glow of the moonlight filtering in through the window. I tried to rationalize it, telling myself it was just the house settling or the wind outside. But the knocking continued every night, growing louder and more insistent with each passing night. I started to feel a sense of dread every time I heard that knocking. It felt like someone, or something, was trying to get in, to reach out to me from beyond the grave. I confided in my friends, but they thought I was just imagining things. They suggested I see a therapist, that maybe I was struggling with unresolved grief over my grandmother's death. But I knew deep down that it was something more sinister. One night, as I lay in bed, trying to ignore the knocking on my door, I heard a whisper in my ear. It was a soft, familiar voice, my grandmother's voice. "Let me in, child," she whispered, her voice filled with longing and desperation. "I miss you so much." I was frozen with fear, unable to move or make a sound. I felt a cold chill run down my spine as I realized that whatever was knocking on my door was not my grandmother. It was something else, something malevolent and hungry. I mustered up every ounce of courage I had and shouted, "Go away! You're not welcome here." The knocking stopped abruptly and the house fell silent. I lay in bed, shaking with fear, not daring to move or even breathe. But then I heard a new sound, the sound of footsteps approaching my door. The door creaked open slowly, and a cold draft of air washed over me. I closed my eyes, unable to bear the thought of what was on the other side of that door. But when I opened them again, I saw her, my grandmother, standing in the doorway, her eyes empty and dark. "Come with me, child," she said, her voice hollow and eerie. "You belong to me now." I screamed and scrambled out of bed, running out of the room and down the stairs. I could hear her footsteps following me, echoing through the empty house. I reached the front door and threw it open, running out into the cold night. I didn't stop running until I reached the nearest neighbor's house, where I banged on the door, begging for help. The neighbor called the police, who searched the house but found nothing. They told me it was probably just a figment of my imagination, that grief can do strange things to a person's mind. But I knew the truth. My grandmother was not at peace. She was trapped in that house, reaching out to me from the other side. And I was determined to find a way to set her free. I hired a team of paranormal investigators to help me uncover the truth behind the haunting. They conducted seances, used EVP devices, and even brought in a psychic medium to communicate with my grandmother's spirit. Through their investigations, we learned that my grandmother's spirit was indeed trapped in the house, unable to move on to the afterlife. She was reaching out to me for help, hoping that I could free her from the torment of being stuck in limbo. With the help of the psychic medium, we performed a ritual to release my grandmother's spirit from the house. It was a long and arduous process, filled with fear and uncertainty. But in the end, we succeeded. As my grandmother's spirit finally found peace and moved on to the afterlife, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. The knocking on my bedroom door stopped, and the house fell silent once again. I moved out of that house shortly after, unable to shake off the memories of the haunting that had taken place there. But I knew that my grandmother was finally at peace, and that was all that mattered. To this day, I still can't explain what happened in that house. Some may call it a trick of the mind or a figment of imagination. But I know the truth. My grandmother was reaching out to me from beyond the grave, and I was the only one who could help her find peace. And in the end, that's all that truly matters. Don't Google yourself. Why? Because you may not like what you find. One day I was bored and decided to search for my own name on Google. I have quite a rare name, so I didn't expect to find many results. Imagine how surprised I was when I came across a website that had my full name in the domain, www.myname.com. When I clicked the link, it brought me to a message board. I looked at the profile of the website owner and found out that the person was the same age as me and had the same hobbies and interests. There weren't any posts on the message board, but I was intrigued, so I saved it in my favorites. It was about a month later when I went back to the website. This time, it had more content. There were some diary entries, mostly random things like, "The weather was nice today," or "I'm so bored in work." Things of that nature. However, as time went on, I began to notice more and more coincidences. The person lived in the same city as I did. It struck me as rather strange that two people with the exact same rare name would be living in the same city at the same time. At one point, I noticed that the contents of the diary were quite similar to my own life. One day, I went to a baseball game, and when I checked the website that evening, I found that the owner of the site had gone to the same ball game. At first, I didn't think much of it. After all, tens of thousands of people in the city supported the same baseball team. It began to seem like much more than a simple coincidence. Whenever I checked the website, I would notice little biographical details that seemed too close for comfort. For example, the owner mentioned their pet dog, and the dog's name was the same as the dog I had when I was a child. The website owner posted a picture of their car. It was the same model of car I had been driving when I was in college. They talked about eating at a certain restaurant. It was the same restaurant I had gone to all the time when I was working at my previous job. One day, when I looked at the message board, people had written messages to the owner saying happy birthday. That day, it was my birthday as well. I decided to write on the message board for the first time, just out of curiosity. I was going to wish the owner a happy birthday and tell them we had the same name. However, when I tried to write something, I realized that there was nowhere to type your message. It wasn't a message board at all, just a static page. That's odd, I thought to myself. In other words, whoever owned the website had gone to a lot of trouble to make it seem as if it was an interactive site, as if there were other people posting on it, when in actual fact, all the content must have been created by the owner. Why on earth would someone do that? I wondered. I decided to send an email to the owner. It read, "Hi there, believe it or not, we both share the same name. Nice to meet you." It was just a friendly email. The next day, when I tried to look at the website, I discovered that it was gone. It seemed like it had been deleted. Then I opened my mailbox. There was one reply. When I looked at it, a chill ran down my spine. It just read, "Found you."